So in this next topic, what I would like to do is to explore the way in which not so much security is defined, but rather how the fact that we have defined security within a system changes dynamically the interaction with the underlying database. So security definitions are a form of metadata, and they have a profound effect on the way in which Sage CRM is able to access application data. I want to talk about the idea of territories, and I want to talk about the idea of restricting information. Works best if we can go over into the software. So I've switched back in here. I'm, of course, logged on as the system administrator, and if I go and look for a company, what we're going to find is that as I look for a company, I can find more than 1,200 companies. So I've got 1,203 companies available to me. If I log on as another user, I'm going to log on here as Susan May. And Susan May, in turn, is going to go and look for company. So you can pull this out, and we can see that Susan May only sees a subset. There are no restrictions in here that I'm putting in. This is saying give me everything, yet the everything that comes back for Susan May is 434. And this can continue down. So if I go and look now at logging on as Brian Little, I go and say, give me everything you've got to the company, and I find that, whereas his manager can see 100 over 400, he can only see 105, and the system administrator can see 1,203. This is all down to the idea of the security territories. So underneath administration, underneath the users area, underneath security, and looking at territories, we can see that different territories have been set up within the system. This is just a revision, I'm sure, for those of you who know and have worked with security territories before. We have this idea of a hierarchy, and a user like Susan May, who is in the US and Canada, can see everything that the user Brian Little can see, because that's underneath her. In terms of what John Finch can see as this user can see everything inside the US East territory. He can't see what's in the US West, but Susan May, who is in North America, can see everything down inside US East and inside US West. That's why Susan May could see over 400 records, as opposed to only the 105 that Brian Little could see. And then somebody at the worldwide level can see everything and looking down inside the system. Now, what you can see is defined inside these security areas. So as I look to security profiles, we understand that people will inherit certain rights. So you can see here that the sales manager has the rights to be able to insert, view, and edit a whole set of different information across the company, the opportunity, the person, the lead, the communication. They can only view information in the cases table. And that's reflected in the fact that Susan May, when she tries to click new, she can create new company, new person, new opportunity, lead, order, and quote, but she can't see there the ability to create a new case. But if I log on as a user, Kylie Ward, Kylie Ward can, of course, create a new case. We can see their new case. However, no rights to create any of the commercial entities within inside the system. That's just reinforcing the point, is that somebody will be in a different territory. That will be part of the definition of them as a user. They will inherit this, and it will change the way in which they access any of the data. Now, this concept of security affects not only the security profiles, but even goes down to the level of individual fields. So we can set rules over who can edit or even see data here. And this is the idea of field level security. And we can start to set rules which determine the rights for individual users or individual teams to be able to see or use a particular field. So everyone there can perhaps edit things, or if I take that away, we'll see that everyone can read it, but only customer service can write it and edit a field. And that's going to be true. Now, this is going to change everything within inside the system. And the everything inside the system that is of most interest is the way in which it pulls back data. That's the most immediate point that you're going to hit questions about security when it's retrieving information. And I can show you this by starting to look at the idea of the queries that are written. And you can see that we've got here the original select statement when I look to the company summary screen. We can start to explore what happens when I do a find. So if I first of all do a find as Susan May, and here I'm going to just click the find button, this runs, pulls back, and we look at this and we can see that in my screen, these query statements are issued. So here, when it's doing, first of all, how many rows have been returned, or then returning the first set of results back, what we can see is that the query has run against the table or view, I should say, the view vSearch list company, and then it's appended to that a whole set of conditions. Now, these conditions are going in and looking at the columns, etc. This is all security information, and if I compare this, though, now with the system administrator doing a company search, there are the logs for this, find. What we can see at the top of the logs when we look at this SQL, it's much simpler. So you can see that there is no information being appended to this. There's no where clause that is being dropped in. And that's because my system administrator has global go anywhere rights. It's not governed by the idea of this territory filtering. Now, what's this got to do with support and the issues around this? Well, it's actually got quite a lot to do with support, because we run into all sorts of different problems potentially where people are trying to access data that their security policies don't grant them access. This can affect reports, views. It can have surprising effects when people join onto information, and can affect as well some of the behavior that is pushed across into the integrations. Now, please be aware that the security model, although I'm demonstrating this within the eWare DLL area of the product, this is true whether this is in the the side of the application that is based on the Apache Tomcat web apps as well. So this concept of this is all true. Now, to give you a very quick explanation of this in terms of a real problem, if I go now into the administration screens, so I go into administration and I look down into where I've got some maybe a view defined, you can see that I've got a view here called Jeff Company. Now this view here that I prepared earlier, you can see is a very simple view. That works. You can see that it can be defined for use with views. And I could go off now and I could look underneath reports. So I can go up into reports into the general category. Go into the general category. So looking at the general category of reports, I can see there's the Jeff report that if I edit this, we can see is based on my view, Jeff Company. And we can see that my category is very simple. I've not put any criteria in here. I've just included the 3 columns that were included there. So if I cancel this and use it, well, I'm going to find that actually it works perfectly well, that I can use it as the system administrator. I can hit go. And you can see that it pulls back the information. But this is wrong. This is an error. That wasn't the error. The error will occur because I've not taken into account security. And so now as another user, I try and go to reports and run that same report. It's going to throw an error to me. So I'm on the same screen. I'm going to clear the logs out and you'll start to see why this is the case. So I've cleared out the logs, and now if I hit go, we can see that the report runs, but it comes back with a SQL Server error. In the log, if I run to here, we can see that there is an error that occurs inside the log. We can start to see there the error. And the error is reporting back and saying that it's missing a field. And this is because the SQL is appending and generating the security related and context related where clause, and that's then running into the problem that my view does not contain comp_sector. We would therefore need to make sure that we're adding any of the information in that we want. Just want to emphasize that these columns of user ID, created by, channel ID, sector, these all have to be included in a view only for the primary entities that are included. We don't have to include them if we've joined onto a notes table, because the notes table does not have those columns. So intersection tables like person link, com link, multiple entity link, they don't have those columns, but primary entities do. And if you've joined onto a primary entity, you must include them.